Putin. There is a danger here for President Trump in not knowing which way Macron is going to go.
There is, but absolutely, as much as this is going to be potentially an awkward trip, remember that President Trump pretty much supported Macron's opponent, Marine Le Pen, in the presidential race in France. As much as this will be awkward on both sides, President Trump needs allies right now. As we saw at the G20, the United States is more isolated than it has been in recent memory in terms of our international relations. European allies who have partnered with the U.S. in the past feel very wary of their position and their relationship with the United States. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has expressed and hinted that she feels a little bit worried about the relation with the United States, and Theresa May, our partner in the United Kingdom, has also expressed worry. And so we need partners, we need friends, and so that's why this is going to be such an important trip. And I think France views it the same way, because for Europe, things are better if the United States is strong, if the United States is cooperating, and that's what they need right now from President Trump, so that's going to be the objective for them.
And just to be clear, Matt, I mean, they have common interests, namely Syria, right, and an end to the humanitarian crisis and the war in Syria. Also, though, you have Macron doing some things that President Trump really likes, like committing to spending 2% of their GDP on defense, being critical of Germany on trade, just like President Trump has been. What do you think makes this trip a win for President Trump?
Well, I think it's actually a mistake to look at it. If Trump looks at it as a win, that's a short-term thing, right? So that means that you come back and there's positive press and that it's, people say that it was a win. I think a win is actually a long-term win, which is to establish a relationship, to build that relationship for the long term of cooperation. I think that is the key, and I think it could go either way. Right now, they're frenemies, you could argue that, like, Donald Trump is this populist nationalist and Macron is this sort of cosmopolitan, internationalist. That's one way of looking at it. And if that's the dichotomy, then that doesn't bode well for the relationship. But you could also certainly argue that they both have a lot in common, including a shared interest of actually getting along. These two countries go back a pretty long ways, all the way back, actually. And it's much better for the world if they get along.
It is indeed. Rebecca, op-ed this morning from Gary Cohn and also National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster in the New York Times. Let me read part of it to you. The United States cannot be a passive member of the international organizations. We are working with friends to confront common threats, seize mutually beneficial opportunities, and press for solutions and shared problems. Now, one interesting note, Russia, Putin not mentioned once in that op-ed. And in addition to that, does this fly in the face of America First, saying we cannot be a passive member of international organizations in the international community? Or is there some way it goes hand in hand, Rebecca?
Well, I think this is certainly an effort by the administration to try to reassure some of our international partners that America First is not going to mean isolationism. But this has been the major concern among our partners overseas, that the United States isn't really interested in working toward our shared common goals, but only its own goals, and is pursuing this more isolationist path. So you can see with this France trip as the background music, this is definitely an effort to try to reassure our European partners and our Asian partners, for that matter, that the United States is not going to withdraw from the world. That's not what America First means. But certainly if you think back to the campaign trail, to some of Donald Trump's rhetoric in that setting, that's what a lot of his supporters took away from what he was saying when he said America First, that we weren't going to engage in these conflicts overseas. We were going to be limiting our trade with some of these countries, pursuing only bilateral trade negotiations, for example. So competing messages, for sure. And you wonder what Donald Trump's, some of his supporters who took that America First message to heart might be thinking when they see an op-ed like that.
I've talked to a lot of them all around the country. You wonder that indeed. Rebecca Berg, thank you. Matt Lewis, Laura Coates, nice to have you all on. We are less than 2 hours away from getting our first look, and frankly, lawmakers, a lot of them getting their first look at the revised GOP Senate health care bill. The president vowing to be very angry if the Senate doesn't pass it this time around. Listen.
They have to do it. They have to get together and get it done.
What will happen if they don't?
Well, I don't even want to talk about it because I think it would be very bad. I will be very angry about it, and a lot of people will be very upset. But I'm sitting waiting for that bill to come to my desk. I hope